Thank you so much for all the warm introductions. Natraj, Janta, Samir, an absolute pleasure hosting all of you. All very, very eminent CIOs. I've had the good fortune of knowing you in the past. All excellent orators, very deep industry knowledge and experience. So I think our friends have joined in today to hear all of you. Uh, I'm sure they'll take a lot listening to all of you. I am personally excited because I've learned about over the years from all of you. So without further ado, let me jump right in. So maybe probably I'll begin in a random order, and I'll request all of you to chip in whenever you feel the need to. Natraj, let me begin today's conversation with you. So Natraj, there's a time for a particular set of technologies, right? You know, say there was a time when everybody was speaking about cloud computing. There were times when everybody was speaking about IoT, everyone was speaking about 5G, some of them were speaking of virtualization. So anything that's hot, right? There were times, if you remember, we spoke a lot about green IT. Okay, that seemed very relevant. Not that not all of these are not relevant, they're very relevant now. But they've truly emerged. So one area that everybody seems to be talking about, and it's got the fancy of not just the enterprise world, but the consumer world is AI. You know, we've had very, very big announcements starting with last year of how generative AI is changing the landscape of how we work, how it will change the world operates. For good or for bad, that's a debate, that's an ongoing debate, but a lot, you know, hinges on how we look at AI. However, having said so, there's a lot of discussion of how we've had very successful use cases of AI in the consumer world, right? For the user. But very keen to understand, and because we are early days, let's be mindful of that. How do you feel, AI can be a disruptive force as far as enterprises go? What is your initial view to this? Over to you, Mithra.
Yeah, thanks, Apleb. Yeah, that's an interesting journey. As you said, different era had a different buzzwords, okay? And with the AI, you had been seeing that for a while in the industry. And I correlate that as I was writing this morning mail back to you saying, we all CIOs, okay, today are like that movie Interstellar, if you have watched. We are like that hero of that one, okay, who is getting into a journey endlessly where there is a time shift, okay, in terms of the time dilution towards the gravity. We're all in that journey with respect to what AI can be a destructive moving forward and how it brings positive vibes. We still, all the enterprises are figuring out, where the end productivity and, with respect to the industry, where it will end finally into a making less disruptive and more value for the common enterprises, okay? At the same time, while we get into a journey on AI, we still looks like not figured out, okay? Just like a 2 decade back, we were not very sure of how the cloud journey would end up, okay? Today, it is more matured. We cannot live without a cloud. For sure, getting into a journey like that, in a couple of years, we would be on the other side of the universe where we would be doing the same conversation with a more intense how the journey took place. At the same time, all the artificial intelligence, we talk about the tools which are coming in primarily for end users or solving manufacturing things to automate what you call artificially, bring a cognitive interface where you need you can automate a lot of repetitive stuff around the your workloads. Saying that, it also brings a lot of challenges for our organization and enterprises. Same for Samir and Jayanta, I'm sure. We have a lot of cybersecurity around this, which may get into a very disruptive way. We are looking at some of these, how to utilize these newer and newer technologies to bring in to a point that our end users get benefited and the endpoint into the current hybrid challenges what we have at the workplace. Okay, today we all entered back after the COVID return to office in a very hybrid model. Okay, the endpoints are across scattered at uh, employees' residences. Okay, they are on a different internet capabilities, which we are not very sure, how to get them into a AI enabled environments at this point. But given the point that most of these industry are trying to get AI enabled SaaS and endpoint applications that need more productivity to bring in.
No, Nataraj, I think you spoke about several points. I'll keep two for our further discussion. One, you spoke about the challenges of cybersecurity, because we're going through a era which has not tested waters, if I may say. So yes, with something new, you always have challenges. Cybersecurity, as we've seen with the entire advent of hybrid work, cybersecurity challenges have really risen exponentially. But it's a great point, and I'll allude to that, say, after a couple of questions. You also spoke about when we've come back to work, the way we work has completely transformed forever. So the de facto standard is a hybrid working policy. So with this, I'll take this as a cue and I'll get Jayanta into the conversation. Jayanta, so when we speak about hybrid work, right? And I think we covered this fairly deeply. So we think there are four key parameters. The A, that we can work from anytime, anywhere, right?
Yeah.
It has to be, the work environment has to be inclusive, right?
Yeah.
And very, very importantly, the work environment has to be secure, right?
Yes.
But the last point is the work environment has to be sustainable. So essentially, Jayanta, the point is the future of work, the way we see it, has to be sustainable, inclusive, and secure. My question to you is, how do you see the role of AI, technologies like AI and ML, shaping this future of work, which is inclusive, sustainable, and secure? Do you see the role of technology like AI and ML help us achieve that? What is your view to this?
No, absolutely, and I completely agree with the point of view that we had earlier. So AI is here to stay, and just to add to the point we spoke, all these days cloud has been the buzzword, right, for last 1 decade or so, and everybody was adopting cloud, utilizing cloud. But having said that, most of us CIOs agree that we're not getting 100% ROI on the cloud. And there is always a gap between what we planned and what we spend. And the only way that we can bridge that ROI gap in the cloud is through AI. CIOs are actually getting to see the benefits of AI in multiple areas, be it conversational AI, machine learning, deep learning, and more importantly, more recently, the generative AI, which is the new kid in the block, right? That is going to be having a transformative effect in all our business processes, be it in operations, be it in management, be it in security per se. So, AI, I would say, is a two-edged sword, right? One is it helps improve the employee productivity. It helps improve the employee efficiency, experience, retention, and all of that. But at the same time, it also helps improve your security. So there are a lot of AI-enabled adaptive and predictive security management. More in particular, the security services age, which I think we're going to discuss later in the meeting. Most of our security services age are AI-enabled. Be it you talk about Zscaler or Palo Alto, or Broadcom for that matter, right? So yes, AI, in a nutshell, AI is given. It has to be there. It will be there, and at the same time, for AI implementation, we need a good cloud infrastructure. Without cloud, AI cannot work. That is given. And then on top of that, with AI, there are security concerns as well, because you'll have to really manage access multiple applications from multiple sources across the globe, be it in cloud or be it in on-premise or wherever they are. And therefore, we'll have to have a solid security infrastructure in place. And I will talk in a bit about what are the security interventions that we can have for AI, right? So
I think very interesting. You spoke about how AI can benefit empowering your cybersecurity posture. Also, at the same time, due to AI, good practices, it is also exposed to cybersecurity breaches as well. So I think that's how we look at it. It's a very nice way of putting this. I'll probably get Samir into the conversation, Jayanta. Samir, to add to what Natraj and Jayanta mentioned, right? Because you come from a very deep background of several sectors, right? One of them, as you know in your introduction, that you served for several years in the aviation sector. You have deep understanding of regulations and compliance. Now, I think when you speak about AI, right, one of the key factors when you speak about not only cybersecurity is in and around data privacy, regulatory issues, compliance issues, because this is, like I said, it is no man's land right now. We understand that AI has the potential to disrupt our future. Whether it's the right way of doing it, the wrong way, a lot would depend on how we follow the guidelines set out for us through the forms of regulatory and compliance issues. How do you see, because given your background in this, I think you will be the best person to answer that in this panel. How do you see this journey of AI adoption in organizations, keeping the regulatory and compliance issues in check? One which is set by a association or a body, and one which is prudent, which is more internal. How do you view this?
Thanks, Aplan. See, the major part, we can divide this into a two segment. One is, as you said, the regulatory, which is now from a different governments. Okay, and second part is something which is managed by internal and your clients' guidelines. So, for example, certain which came into the picture, recent days, and they have policies for all PII data. And the people, when they came back from the COVID and other breaks, so when we started implementing these policies, it was very difficult for us to implement any of the certain policies. And for give a basic example, that you cannot use your personal ID on your laptop as per the law. And the laws are not clear that, okay, can I send an email or a Gmail which is used by some of the entities? It says no, because Gmail is a private email ID. So then the AI pitched in, and we got solutions where, okay, we can register certain class of, for example, Google Workspace. So if your email ID is from the Google space, so still you can send those emails. And as you say, the regulators are still, they are trying to figure out what all the policies should be applied and what not. So as spoken by Natraj, that still we're in the age where the AI baby is crawling in an actual implementation. Not in a AI in the scanning a document, face recognition, all those things are okay. I can understand it is easy. But when it comes to a regulatory or an implementation stage, or when you're handling your own employees against your client's data. So in that case, we are still in a very, very initial stage where you need to send the process data to the client or accept the data from the client, but you can't use their email IDs. So as Jayanta said, we have a Zscaler. So these kind of solutions, what we get. But what is the major issue here is that we have implemented a Zscaler to the other solutions also. The ace of freedom of getting the data, sending the data, that mindset of employees is getting disrupted. People say, oh, I can't send the email. And that is where the workplace related issues or conflict starts. AI is a very good double-sided sword. So one, it is helping me to secure my data. Same time, it is making my employees not so happy about the working with us. So we need to come up with a solution where we need to have something which can understand the situation. Like for example, my new tool which identifies whether I'm sending this mail or a data to my personal ID or a personal network, or it is going to an organization which is having a similar to a personal ID. This is a major key or major issue which is faced by most of the people, those who are into a regulatory system.
Right.
The moment you implement the policies which is given by the government or any other body, take example for data localization. The certain says that your all PII data or banking related data has to be reside within the India geographical location. It should not go out. But in some cases, the data travels through a different servers, which is outside India and come back to India. So how we are going to control that? So companies like AWS and Azure, they are trying to figure out, and they're providing a provisioning where the data will not cross the Indian boundaries. So
yeah, I think we are working. The government is also working on data regulatory issues around this.
Yes.
There's a lot
Yes.
of talk about localizing your data
Primarily.
primarily. No, I think a great point, Samir, that you make. I have one question that is common for all the three of you. I'll request each one of you take one by one. So basically, I think what our friends would love to know here, so they all understand the benefits of AI, right? There's a lot of literature in Google or any search engine which you want to use, and which will elucidate the benefits of AI for consumers and for enterprises. But particularly as CIOs, because you are the person mandated, right, by the organization to run the entire show for the organization. What are some of the biggest challenges for implementing AI? And I'm sure every organization has its own set of challenges. For the sake of getting diverging views, and I think this is an important question. Maybe I'll start with Nataraj, then I'll request Jayanta and then Samir to take one by one. Nataraj, beginning with you, what is it one big challenge, whether you have implemented already or plan to implement, that you foresee or you have witnessed as far as implementing an AI project? Is it management-led issues? Is it financial issues? Is it, what is it? Let me not.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. Recently, last quarter, we were addressing some of the, our board concern. This the company board. So primarily, I'll take only one aspect of that. Should the very first question was to whether we should allow ChatGPT to be part of the organization as whole, or should we block it? Okay, so my CISO, we went on a primarily discussion internally. Some of the key stakeholders, we just had a brainstorm. You might have seen that recently. I do not want to name certain company names because of their credibility into the market. Okay, a company was primarily taken back when one of the employee put a code, a proprietary development code into ChatGPT to verify whether the algorithms are correct or not. And this neural network took that code and it went public. Okay, and those critical things, what we want to today address first is as simple as access to a ChatGPT. Should we give that at a workplace or not? Primarily, employees can move around with ChatGPT in their personal computers and phones and other places. But when it comes to the work lab areas or research work, we have some of these design codes which primarily sit on the secure network, and you pick up a browser and put up a chat, open AI.com and just enter certain codes and get into a neural network. Okay, it's as simple as exposing you. Whereas each one of the CIOs on this call, Samir and Jayanta, we all secure network to the level of implementing so much of, zero trust and other aspect. But look at one small web browser just sitting there can be disruptive. So
Brilliant example.
yeah,
Very good
coming,
example. Sir.
so coming back to Appleb, addressing what is that one thing. So what we immediately made is uh, a process, a complete process around ChatGPT. We are bringing to the point educational exposure to our research engineers, what not to do on ChatGPT and how to effectively use that. Okay, even if it is, so we have a process placed. We have a training getting through. Okay, for engineers, and third thing is every organization should take back and see that do you want to block certain URLs which get into these kind of neural network, okay, and guide and train your workforce at so that is as simple as a chat GPT web browsing on the application. Now the next step would be a lot of AI based tools have been introduced and will keep coming. Okay, so my recommendation is we need to evaluate in each and every of those tools. Does it fit to your environment, to the workforce, what is trained, and move forward.
Sure.
That's why I think great point, and really this example will stick to me. But then besides ChatGPT, because like I said, very well pointed out by Nataraj, a lot has been spoken about generative AI. But apart from this example, what are some of the other challenges you have faced? Like you've been a CIO for so many years. People look up to you. In your view, is it implementing it at the first place? Is it acceptability? Are the issues more process oriented, people oriented, or is technology in itself the biggest challenge?
Thank you, and I think I agree and partially disagree with Nataraj, and we have a divergent view. I know that we CIOs are driven by organizational priorities. So, so from an ITS background, the way CIOs are, and I'm in touch with multiple of my colleagues there. I will just step back a bit here. Our budget, technology spend budget is constrained, right? I mean, every year or every quarter, I don't get budget for new technology innovations, transformations, and my CFOs will always say, you have to manage with whatever you have, right? And for me to do that, but at the same time, there are certain transformation works like, application modernization, new security implementation, or cloud migration, automation, all of those need budget. And from where do I get the budget? Now, AI will help me to get that budget in a way that I am implementing AI in a multiple areas. And I will briefly tell you that, probably not now, but later, wherein I can, optimize my IT spend, wherein I can optimize my, IT budget and use that budget for innovation work. So AI is going to be there. It's a tool for CIOs, and CIOs have to really own it and find a way to make it work. I agree that there are multiple security concerns, and I'm the CISO of the company myself, so I wear a joint hat of CIO and CISO. So yes, there is a balancing act between the two, and we'll have to have a strong security posture, be it by implementing JTNA or multi-factor authentication or geo-blocking or multiple other, like, security services age, and all of those, to have a solid posture. And the other important factor here is about the hybrid way of working or work from anywhere. To keep our employees happy and satisfied and more productive, we'll have to have the hybrid working way, or work from anywhere. These days, actually, people can work from anywhere. BYOD, bring your own device, is coming in a big way, where youngsters, they don't want to have a separate computer for the office. They are saying that, hey, I want to use my own personal computer for office work. How can I make it work? Right? So in those kind of a scenario, and on top of that, if you have to use AI tools on a BIOD computer, let's say, right? Security is of utmost important. That you'll have to have a separate container in those devices. To have a corporate container where all the corporate apps, applications, and tools will reside. So in nutshell, um, AI is here to stay. AI is mandatory. Is a way to go, and primarily the Chat GPT and the generative AI is going to make our life difficult and easier. I will say both, because it will actually help me in managing my budget by optimizing my technology operations and multiple other things.
It's a very, very interesting view, Jayanta, actually. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a convergent view. And just to add to that, so the other challenges that I have, coming back to your question, I'll just briefly see. AI is, most important thing is, we are facing is we have actually identified almost 30 use cases for AI, and mostly generative AI. Be it in multiple cases, like starting from marketing, sales, content creation, employee onboarding, training, collaboration, employee management, productivity, and all of that. IT operations, network monitoring. Also, we are implementing Chat GPT network monitoring to reduce people. So in all those cases, if you have to implement those, we'll have to have a right cloud strategy for AI. There are two kinds of workloads that we have. One is traditional workloads for your ERPs, SAP, or HR or payroll software, but that cloud will not work for AI. You'll have to decide which cloud to go for, whether you want to go for a AWS or an Azure or a GCP, and each one of them have different offerings for AI. So you should know what is the AI use case that you have, and depending on that, you'll have to go for a cloud. So multi-cloud is very important. You cannot just stick to one cloud for AI, generative AI in particular. You'll have to have multi-cloud environment, right? Multiple clouds, because each one of them have their own use cases in terms of scalability, provisioning, pay-per-use model. For example, there are certain cases I get a better pay-per-use flexibility model from AWS compared to others. So those are the challenges, and more important thing is, last but not the least, is that if you have to implement AI in the organization, you'll have to have agile mindset. So you'll have to actually transform the mindset of the employees by giving continuous training, right? And AI is here to stay. Cybersecurity is here to stay. Your company's reputation depends on cybersecurity, right? So both have to work together.
Jayanta, thank you so much for all the points. So I'll bring you into the conversation. So I will not try to stitch the 2 points that Nataraj and Jayanta mentioned. Somewhere we all understand and recognize the importance of cybersecurity. At the same time, there's a new school of thought, which we also very strongly believe in, that device is a new office. With the entire hybrid work in place, the fact that Jayanta kept on espousing that you can work from anywhere. And to do that, 2 things that matter a lot. One is your connectivity, other being your device. Now, considering this, and that's why the adage device is a new office, right? Now, if you take a step back, say 4 to 5 years back, lot of our cybersecurity investments used to be around network security, because the perimeter of operations was the office.
Within the office.
Now, suddenly, our perimeter of operation has gone distributed. Many of us are working from home, some of us are going to office. How do you see endpoint security getting disrupted in today's work? And how can I protect, my device, considering all the factors that you have to put in play in a hybrid way of working? Your views,
Thanks, Balak. So as Jayan sir told that there are 3 things. One is your cost, and one is the security and the productivity. It's like a prism, okay, with the 3 sides. One is your security, second is your cost, and the success of the organization. And the bottom part of is the employee comfort or the mindset. Okay. So even we follow that bring your own device policy. And as you say that my PC or my laptop is my office. And for example, for the sales and the field staff, it's a phone device itself is their own office. And we have all kind of connectivity to the phones. Like you have local, Wi-Fi from your home or a public hotspots, or you may be connected through anything. Endpoint security is very crucial. Okay, so in this implementing AI on what kind of a sites being accessed, I can't stop people saying that okay, don't go to this site. To give you an example, that in a regulatory place, for example, some states, state government owned government sites where people has to fill in their PF challans. So they have to submit their document, which is part of my organization day in day out business. We cater for all the states. So those sites are restricted sites. For example, the moment I use any endpoint security tool, it says that okay, this is not updated. There is no security. SSL certificate is expired, or maybe you can find a malware in a government site. So I can't go and tell my team saying that okay, please don't go and use this site, because if they don't do this, they don't pay the ESIC challans, the organization will go into a non-compliant mode. For my clients, the being compliant is more important. It's not about the money. And for example, the government-based CSR programs, where now spending money is important. You have to spend to the people. If you don't, you commit and you don't spend that money, and that is non-compliant, and you will penalize. And penalty is not that big where you lose your credibility in the market. For these cases, you need to reach that site, and I cannot stop them. But same time, I need to secure my devices, my network. As you said earlier, everything was within the office. I can control my devices not going there or not accessing things. But right now, we need those kind of a system which intelligently understand the importance of that site or whether going to that place, and same time the secure my network. I can't stop paying my challans on the government portal, but portals are not maintained so well. This is a day in, day out problem for most of the contractors who are working for a government. If I use
yep. Tell me one thing, because I heard this being referred in other discussions. Jayanta touched upon it. Natara spoke about it. Jayanta used the word ZTNA. So we're talking about zero trust. Now, zero trust, the concept of zero trust is a framework. It's not a product. It's not a point solution, right? As we all know. It came into prominence during the pandemic phase. I mean, we knew about it. Everyone started speaking about ZTNA or zero trust during the pandemic phase. Now we are well beyond that in terms of at least the pandemic is the worst is definitely over. I mean, now we can confidently speak about it. Most of us are going about our ways of life. Considering this, I mean, Jayanta said that he holds a dual responsibility, CIO and a CISO. I'm assuming you also, as CIOs, have a fair bit of responsibility as far as security postures of your organization go. I'll get Nataraja Jayanta also into this. Do you feel the way the ZTNA framework is postured, is it equipped to handle security threats which is ever evolving? What is your view to it? Because see, cybersecurity is one area which is so dynamic. A framework we were created 5 years back may not be relevant for today's time, if you know what I'm saying. How do you view this? It's a question that came out the back of my head. So I thought of just asking all the three of you. I'll start with Sameer on this.
The zero trust is the thing which works as on today, working fine. But we don't know what is next coming up in the cybersecurity in the market. So earlier, like, okay, two-factor authentication was fine. You remember the RSA tokens. Earlier, we used to have those small devices. From there, we started in a multi-factor authentication. Now we have an authenticator on your phone devices. There was a recent classic case which came across. It is from Australia. Somebody hacked into somebody's phone which had authenticator device, and they picked up the code. They logged into their network and they shut it down. It was done by a hacker, and it is one of the a big real estate network in Australia. So in this case, the question to the Nataraj and Jayanta. So still we have your device need to have your password or your fingerprint access to go into your application. From there, again, you will log in second time to your authenticator. From there, you pick up your PIN and put into your system where you are getting in. So after all this, we hacked on that phone device. So the mistake from that person was he connected to the open Wi-Fi, which is there somewhere in the network. So in this situation, still you suggest that current zero trust system will work, or what all that thing we need to look into? The
Right.
employee was having one of the best solutions on a security part, but still this happened. So what is your stand on this?
Janta, why don't you take a dig at this? I mean, it's a great point.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good
So,
to have
I think I will.
trying to ask you a question.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just, so I will, just, step back to your earlier question where you said device is the new office, and that is a fantastic point, and I admire you to pick that up. I've never seen it that way, but absolutely correct. You're bang on that. Yes, device is a new office, and people are working from anywhere, be it at home, office, and these days people want to work from restaurant, cafeterias, and all of that, right? So, I'll give a quick example, which I have experienced. These days during the Russia-Ukraine war, there are a lot of hacking coming from Russia in particular, right? And we are seeing there are a lot of hackers trying to kind of log into our units, and more importantly, employees' desktops or BYOD devices and all that. So I will come to the zero trust question later, but what we have done is, and this is something that all of us can explore, is there is this concept of geo blocking, right? So geo blocking feature for security is important. What it does is it blocks. So for example, if I'm working in America, right, or if I'm working in India, let's say, or if I'm working in a particular geography, my computer can be only accessed from anyone from that geography and not from anyone from outside the geography. Now, what happens for a particular case in point that we have employees in the US, and a couple of them, and she got married to somebody from Russia, and she went there to Russia, and her computer got hacked because obviously we didn't have the geo blocking for Russia, for example, or we didn't have geo blocking for Mexico. So that's very important. So, and this can be done at geo blocking can be done at various levels, at the operating system level, at the application level. And then you can talk to your security consultant who can help you guide how to implement that. The other, important factor is dark web management, and that is something which is coming in a big way. And while you are working from anywhere, right, dark web management and monitoring is important, because there could be hackers just waiting for your email IDs to be there in the dark web, and thereby just use that to hack your system. So we'll have to have security tools and management for that. So coming to the zero trust, yeah. So I think, according to me, zero trust is very key for hybrid way of working. It should be the center point of security if we have to adopt a hybrid way of working. And hybrid is here to stay. We'll have to implement or rather design zero trust in such a way that it manages all the devices, including, there's something called a JetCP or ZIA, or JetScaler has got multiple modules through which your security posture can be completely secure, be it working from home or anywhere for that matter. And even for AI, it is important. And just one last point about zero trust is that there's something called DEM, which is digital experience management, which is part of zero trust, which will help to find what is the experience level of the employees while they are using zero trust. That's very important. So while you're implementing zero trust, you should also implement DEM solution.
Janta, thank you so much for all the points. I think few keys that I want our friends to work in. I mean, we spoke of geo blocking, something that definitely needs to be checked in. We spoke of the dark web managing. I think that is that's a reality that I think also we live with. Because at the end of the day, I mean, none of us can give us 100% validated security that we are secure. So having those mitigation plans put in place, I think is the best way. It's a very progressive and proactive way of looking
Yeah.
at security. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Jayanta. But I'd
And
like to
just one more,
yeah,
and
yeah.
just one more last point on this, that the AI is going to play a very important role in security as well. So we'll have to, whatever security solution they're implementing, you should have a predictive analytic and threat and automatic threat management module, which is AI driven. Very important point, because without that, we cannot have hundreds of people managing a SOC.
Right.
We'll have to have
No,
AI
absolutely.
managing a SOC.
Right. What a brilliant point, Jayanta. I'll conclude today's conversation with one common question that I want to run through Natraj, Samir, and finally Jayanta. Starting with Natraj. Then, Natraj, as we've seen over our conversation in the last 40-45 minutes, so when we spoke primarily about two areas. One around artificial intelligence, AI and ML, and the other being about cybersecurity, largely, right? And how the way we work has changed and how device is the epicenter of all of this. The question is, while straightforward, but may not be straightforward to answer, is when we speak about cybersecurity, I think Sami, one of you only gave this example about multi-factor authentication. We gave this example of the Australia breach, right? That you have multi-factor authentication, you have ways of authenticating these things. But somewhere when we speak of cybersecurity, there's a thought that runs through your mind is, am I compromising on the end user experience? So AI at the end of the day, if you think of it, has a benefit either in performance improvement or user experience or process efficiencies and so on and so forth. How do I manage to balance cybersecurity with the end user experience? Like I said, straightforward question may not necessarily be straightforward answer, but like all your views to this, starting with Natraj, then Samir, I find to Jayanta. Starting with you, Natraj, please.
Yeah, primarily, when we try to get AI in the front and secure your endpoints, you're loading your endpoint devices. Primarily, that's a new office, as we say, for the end user, with so many multiple, application which are monitoring on the endpoints. Okay, it tend to slow down. It tend to, behave not exactly what you used to behave without those endpoint tools monitoring them. One is that aspect. At the same time, bringing a balance between the end user, okay, with respect to his experience on particular with two sort on the hybrid, why he is expected to give the productivity to the same level as he was in office, primarily working inside your network, which were more secured and more in-depth compute. In our environment, we are compute intensive. Okay, we are working on the design edge of designing chips, for example. Okay, so the endpoints primarily with getting in so much of attracted stuff. What I believe is the end user need to be, the laptop has to be like stationed in a way that it can get into a remote compute environment with respect to like getting a Citrix or remote block compute intensive to be sitting on the back of a firewall with only allow them to get into the main screen, and whatever they have on the laptop is monitored in a DLP and other mode, okay, to the endpoint. Primarily, I believe we need to draw a line between the what he can do on a end laptop versus a remote machine environments given. Okay.
No, I think that's what I think very objectively defined of how you look at it. So I mean, like I said, the same question applies to you.
Yeah, so this is a, no, a very important question where process against your productivity. Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah,
for me, okay, my productivity is that as long as my employee is completing his task, okay, maybe as the Nataraj said, he is into a more of a designing, technical part, which has a very secure network is required. For me, it's more about the compliance and the regulatory things, which is controlled by the different governments from the different part of the world. So where we can't control their sites or their things. So only thing what for me is the weakest point in my entire network is the person who is holding that device in his hand. So for me, I need to have that process in place and the system which enforces that process. Samir, you're not allowed to reach this site. You're not allowed to reach this site. Okay. So we need to have a balance between the knowledge and the process configuration and the AI based tool, which tells me, okay, these are the things are allowed. You are doing it. And still you may have to do this thing, but it is not allowed, but it is a mandatory. So somewhere it has to show me the alarm saying that, okay, we need to bypass certain security, or we need to have a provision, a safe provision to get those tasks done. So as said by Natarajan, that we can have a Citrix environment where I am controlling my data. So where my data is exiting my system and entering some other system, that side we need to have an AI-based system or something intelligent system which can understand the threat and alarm. So many of the things that once we expose our system, not by APIs and other things, the opening a browser, as Jayanta said, that if I open a browser, it is like I'm myself putting a small hole in my bridge or a dam which is holding a tons of water. A small crack can collapse entire structure.
So I mean,
So
I think
I need a system which can work as a sealant, so we can fill this crack by its own.
so I mean, I
Okay.
think great points at both of you. Yeah, absolutely. We can hear you. I mean, we lost you for a second, but you're back once again with us. Like I said, I value the points that Nataraj and you made, not relying on motherhood statement and giving very concrete answers to how we keep balance. Janta, you through our conversation, you've given very convergent views of how AI and security can go hand in hand. How you can see it a positive disruption and a cautious approach to that. Like I said, my original question was, how do I balance cybersecurity without compromising the end user experience? Your views to this, and we conclude today's session.
Yeah, I think we have most of the points already ready, or rather we've discussed. So the last probably I will raise 2 points here, which is very important. One is, as an organization, the employees and all of us should know that security is of paramount importance, and our brand value depends on cybersecurity. So somewhere brand is connected to cybersecurity, and we cannot have any security bypasses. So the most important thing is to get the employees on board on this, is to have regular employee awareness training on securities, on do's and don'ts, and why we are doing certain thing in a particular way. Get them part of the security journey, and that is what we continuously do. Handling the new, primarily the new employees, and onboarding training, for the new employees are very important on cybersecurity. We have a separate session on cybersecurity for new employees onboarding training. So that is one part of it. The other part of it is BYOD is also going to play an important role in employee satisfaction. And there are tools available that if somebody brings their own device, then the entire BYOD can be managed in such a way that there won't be any interruption or intervention needed by the employee, right? And it can be done in a very smooth way. And organizations are actually going for BYOD in a big way, going forward. These are the 2 points I wanted to mention here on this topic.
Thank you so much, Jayanta, Samir, Nataraj. Like I said, trying to encapsulate 2 very big themes of cybersecurity and AI is next to impossible in a 45 to 50-minute odd conversation. But it's probably a tipping point for our friends who have joined it to think through on this. I'm sure a lot is being done as we speak about this. AI in more paths, like real transformation, is a journey. It's not it's not a one-stop solution. And we've seen very successful deployments in small factors like, Jayanta will concur very strongly in how, for instance, in the contact center business, we've seen very successful deployments of, RPA, so on and so forth. But I think the next wave of disruption really seems to be in the space of AI and how we do it in a controlled manner without compromising cybersecurity. I think that's the future. So that's it from our end. Thank you, one and all, Natraj, Sami, Jayanta. It's an absolute pleasure hosting all of you. Learned through your conversation and hope to host you again in the near term. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Jayanta, sir.
Abhilam.
Thank you, Natraj.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
everyone.
Samir and Jayanta. Yeah, nice meeting.
Bye.